Well, it's Monday, June the 17th, 2024, and we are here at Lunch and Learn with the Chief Inspector for the state, Mr. Tony Woodard. Going to talk about dampers today. Are they required? And if so, where and when? It's a good topic because it's in the code and it also benefits the homeowner when we do it correctly. Let's see here. First off, we're going to go to the code IMC 2021. But first, I'm sorry, Tony. Hello. Good
Hey,
morning.
good
Uh,
morning.
or
No,
good noon. I was running right past you, wasn't I there? I
that's
was
all right. We're going.
anyhow, we're talking about what the code says about dampers in 603.1.8. You want to jump in there?
Yes, I do. So they understand the difference from a register, a grill, and a diffuser. You know, your registers are what it had a little arm on there, and as the volume control, people were trying to. That's not what we use for volume dampers. A damper is a damper. Uh, Grills, that can be your stamp face. Diffuser is like an air sock or just it
Hmm.
just disperses everywhere. Registers, they go in directions and you can control it, and your grills are kind of fixed. So that saying of, well, I'm controlling it here is not. And with this 6.0 is requiring the damper on the branch run.
Yeah.
We will require the dampers on the branch runs, and there is another one, 608, but that's being missed, and we'll
Yeah.
discuss that today
Well,
with you.
we'll be there in just a second. From my perspective, if it's up there and it's got air going through it, I'm going to call it a grill. It's
Right.
just kind of the default of what people say. However, we really ought to have our terminology correct. And but before we get into the terminology, it says, what do you got to do? You got to have a damper location. Where do they go? And the code that we were just looking there says it's got to be in a branch duct
That's
or
right.
can be an individual register, grill, or diffuser. But again, it also says you got to have access.
Okay, let me break that down a little bit better. Let's picture a vaulted ceiling where it might be the roof pitch is cut up so bad and the attic access, you might not get in there, but you've got a double deflection, double throw grill.
Mm-hmm.
Now we've got both. We can do volume control with dispersion of throwing in registers, and we have a double deflection in the back with the deal. At that point, we can use that as kind of a volume control because that's a high sidewall. That's a little different animal. And we don't have access back into this, what I'd call a knee wall, to crawl back there and adjust the damper. So we can use that $30 grill right there to take care of that. Now,
Yeah.
your regular ceiling where you're going and you've got your unit in the attic and you're taking off with a trunk line and then you're feeding it with branches. When you have those have to have the damper with a handle and identified so that if we ever have to go back and do some adjustment or bouncing with the damper. What's funny is we'll go out and make inspections on, especially if we're there when it's clear. You can see the box, they took the furnace out, and you can see the damper part pulled out of the airtight inside the box. And I'll go, guys and gals, why are we doing this? Well, I didn't want to have to tape around my hand or what else. Branch runs are required. Leave
Yeah.
those dampers
Yeah.
in there.
Well, that I want to ask you again. You said it's got to be identified. How does one identify it? Wait, let me back up. I need to do this a slide at a time. You,
Okay.
okay, I'll
Uh,
back up and then we'll get into it. Anyway, if you want to know what a grill or a diffuser or a registry is, you can just go to the ASHRAE Book of Fundamentals and it tells you what it is. And it's not worth spending a lot of time on it,
right.
except to say there is a definition. And most of the time when we say grill, we're just talking about a piece of metal that the air is coming through. But it said you can use a damper or another method, but here in 608, Tony, it
Yep.
takes it a little farther where we get into balancing. What does this mean?
This basically, if you had the commentary, it gets into basically how you balance it. And their pictorial in there with their example is actually a quadrant takeoff. What we all did in commercial with our square duct,
Mm-hmm.
play it to
Mm-hmm.
that, because with quadrants, if I needed exactly 88 CFM here, we could achieve that. That's where they're going a little further with that. And in the commentary, they're saying this branch run, you're going to balance it through this. This even goes deeper into commissioning and the experts and the
Uh-huh.
balance folks and so forth like that, which they will. But I need to get the installers to understand it's critical on the branch runs. You put your balance damper on there, put a damper on there so we can balance it and control the volume if we need to.
Well, are we talking just commercial?
We're talking in any duct, we're not
duct.
Just forget occupancy, forget dwelling. If it's a branch run and it's acceptable, we're going to do it. Now, we could have a situation where we have a 2-story house and the way they didn't give the room, you've got a trunk line going through here and it's bleeding between and you're never going to be able to get in there. If it's on that high sidewall grill, like I just talked about, double throw, double deflection, we can control that one. But it might be that we wound up doing a trunk type situation, or it's critical we size that properly if we can't ever get back in there to that branch run, which in that case, sometimes you can't.
You know, I guess one of the things that I've kind of come at a piece of trying to balance that 601 and the 608 is that, you know, balancing is important because if you put in a system today and they need 200 CF in a bedroom suite, and then 10 years from now, they still need that. But in the meantime, somebody may have gotten up there and closed it off. If they had a register, they closed it off a little bit. And now then, they don't have the flow that they need. So that it needs to be accessible, but it doesn't need to be so accessible that the homeowner can easily change it without realizing what they've done to themselves.
Right.
Is that right?
Yeah, that's correct. I don't know how many times I go in there and I go, well, I've shut all those off. So I know that my duct on that far room over there, it took care of all that. And I just, yes, ma'am, no, sir. I just shake my head and go on with it. But that's a fallacy. That's not correct.
Yeah. Well,
you created a few more eddy currents. Yeah. That's true. You've done that. But
you know, one of the things that is frustrating and sad actually for a homeowner is that they decide they're going to have a bedroom they're not going to use anymore. And they go in there and they close down that register because they don't want to keep it the same temperature they did when their teenager was there. And they don't realize how that affects the whole house.
That's right. And I try to explain to every individual, the air is not for you. It is not for you. It makes you comfortable, but it's not for you. It's for the structure and making the structure you're comfortable. But yeah, that's not. I pay the bill. It's for me.
Yeah, I understand.
I understand.
So when we were talking about going from 603 to 608, there is a need to understand that while 603 may imply that a register would be satisfactory, the 608 says, no, you've got to do some balancing.
That's right. And to do the balancing is with a quality controlled damper that we can adjust.
Now, here we get into some ductwork. Now, that looks like this is a residential application, is it?
It is in a residential application, and this contractor, he likes to do a real good sealed. He mastic, he seals, and he wants it, and he goes, I don't want that. I don't even want to penetrate my vapor barrier with a handle, so I did. I said, absolutely perfect. That's legal. That's what you want. You've identified that. I've seen some use the little orange ribbon and poke a hole, let that come out through there. I've seen some poke the handle out with the ribbons, but that's acceptable. He's identifying that damper on that branch run.
You know, if you put your damper within, say, a couple of feet of the takeoff every time, you don't really have to worry about where they are.
Well,
when you drag your insulation back, you see where you marked it, and there it is. You don't have to have anything sticking up through the insulation.
And your takeoff is the damper. The dampers are in the takeoff. So there you go.
Yeah. Huh. Very interesting. Well, now in this particular case, it still looks like it's residential, but what are you pointing to there?
Okay, this isn't residential. This is a restaurant. This is a commercial job. And this is a heavy balanced. In fact, what they're utilizing here, this is part of the balanced makeup air for a hood even. Oh. So they're doing, and what's weird with this engineered design, half of these are for conditioning and the other half are for the balance to the hood. So he used one large RTU to take place of some kid. Now, you see the one in the corner over there, but this one right here was it's a retrofit job. But he's balancing them, and they're gonna attack this from the drop-in ceiling. So they put them on this side, which was very thinking through. I'm going to be on the side. Very good.
See, I thought it was residential. And so
Yeah.
I was looking at that, scratching my head saying, why would they put that on the bottom side? Why would they do
Well,
that? But I see it now. It makes
yeah,
sense.
they would pull that drop in down. I'm right here. So,
Yeah, it makes sense.
yes,
Now
sir.
we're back to residential.
Back to residential.
And you've got that where he looks like he spray painted that. Is that what he did?
He did. He just used what he went ahead and he said, I'm going to use my green identifying paint I use on my condensate. Absolutely. Fantastic. So we don't have a color. It's just identifying, and he identified it. He did.
All right. Now, what are we looking at here? This is commercial, isn't it?
That's commercial, and it does not have one. It's hard to look up, but you can look up inside and see that. And this was the one where I went, and the dampers were laying out. They, the takeoffs are there. They just took the dampers out of them, and that's branch runs. And I want, guys, I mean, inspecting how to do it. If we get this far along, in this situation, this was easy to correct, but we get in some of these houses like the others, please just start educating the contractors as to it. I mean, just don't start ripping everything out because they've been putting them in without dampers for a long time. Let's just start educating them too. Hey, on your branch run, you've got to put that damper in there now.
Gotcha. Now,
that's the same one right there.
Same one. Yeah. All right. Now I had some questions here that kind of chased a rabbit away from the dampers, but I needed to get an answer for it. When you see that looking right there like that, well, isn't that the strangest thing? My PowerPoint didn't save my drawings. If you look at this right here, the code says, and let me come down to where the code is. It says you got to have a 2 foot, you got to have a support within 2 feet of the elbow.
2 foot of the elbow.
2 foot of the elbow. But you come back here, and that's not within 2 feet of the elbow. Are they going to have to add another support?
All right. So if this continued on with heavy weighted galvanized steel duct pipe, you would. This is flex duct from here down.
Oh, it is.
That's flex duct in the drop-in grid. That's a very good question, very good point. Now, if this would have, say we're in a horizontal, we're not turning 90 degrees, but we're this way, then yes, that's a good, here and here, where they're used to the 10-foot rule, you would have been on each side. Yeah. This, where it's dropping straight down to the drop-in ceiling, that's okay. But if we're going to continue on with metal, yes, sir. You're absolutely right. Very good point. Good catch, as a matter of fact. That's a very good picture.
It is, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And that's a good one. I wish I'd have caught an elbow. We're building these cut-up houses where we have some, and the last couple I've seen, the guys they were lucky enough they were resting on wood where they were turning and going that way. But in this situation, the flex duct is what the weight on that. It's okay. We're all right.
Oh, it sure looks like metal across there.
No, this is metal.
Yeah.
All right. So I guess we could, but here where it's going to pull on this here would be the continuation weight here, but that's going to be flex. But technically we could go back and put another one there.
Yeah.
That's why that is a very good, because it looks to me like on this one over here you got in that picture needed a brace on it as well. Even though it's only 5 foot. That's a good question.
Well, and what's interesting to me is that it talks about within 2 feet of an elbow, you've got to have that. And then it talks about within the actual takeoff, within 4 feet.
Yeah,
you got to have it.
So that plenum, and that's another thing. See the plenum here. So that was where they were coming back, and they're going to have to strap that plenum back up.
Yeah.
Pull on that.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, but then again, it's interesting. Here's where I was talking about a while ago that
the SMACNA
does. It says 2 feet of the elbow, 4 feet from the branch intersection, and then but over here it talks about, and again, bigger pipe, 10 inches. That's right. 10 inches. You could go 12 feet.
Okay.
As long as it's in the horizontal run, not at the elbow, not at the takeoff.
But you got to follow your chart all the way over. You've got down to 22 gauge too. So okay. So
a strap.
All right. So that's the thing. Now if we that's the part. It's a very good. We could be 28 gauge, but we're getting further with the stronger pipe.
Yeah. So, I see what you're saying. Well,
that's good. Hey, very good. You
Hey,
you pointed out something I missed there, and
the
I've got myself some notes to take here. I did. I missed that. No, that's good. That's very good.
well,
You
the
gotta
reason,
own them. You gotta, and I own it, brother. I
well,
missed it.
you got some really good pictures there. And as I was going through this and kind of scratching my head trying to
Yeah.
understand it, because when you go back to that example of what it says in 603, and then you see what it says in 608, it is the totality of the code that you got to pay attention to, not just one verse. I've heard a lot of preachers talking about you got to talk about context too. So
Yeah.
as you preach this, Brother Woodard, I
Yeah.
understand
Hey, you gotta own it. I own that. I missed that. That's
it.
good though. But I tell you what, that's going in the little notepad right here. That's very good.
Mhm. Well, one thing's for certain. Uh, we have we've gone through a time where we just kind of threw stuff in, and if it worked when we walked away, we were happy with it. The old beer can cold
Right.
philosophy, the whole attitude. Now then, we're realizing that the consequences of our actions, they are long term, and we can't see them because we can't see the air. So we're coming around though. I think our industry is so much more professional today than it was 20 years ago. I'm very proud of our guys.
Yeah, I am too. And they're reaching out to us. In fact, tomorrow, JC and I will be in Prairie Grove. We've got
Hmm.
some contractors we're going to meet on job sites. They are reaching out, and when we can schedule these, so it's moving in the right direction. But I know it's helped a lot.
Well, the code's helpful, but I believe that even more so with the code is the fact that you and Lindsay and all the folks over there at Labor and Licensing have supported and continue to support the Lunch and Learn. I have so many contractors say that they use this in their training, and had one this morning said, I was just going back reviewing my Lunch and Learns, and I thought, yes, it's working, isn't it? But Tony, I know it takes a lot of your time, but I appreciate it.
Well, I want to say I've had been mentioned. I had been told out of Missouri, Tennessee, Oklahoma, and Texas that they've gone to YouTube. Well, I had my first Louisiana contractor tell me he watched one from you. I
Good.
thought, wow, okay. Now so that's good. They find them through the YouTube, and hey, that's what we're here. We're a community. We're just trying to get everybody on the same page with this.
Yeah.
And I appreciate you for doing it because it helps get it out there to them.
Well, as you say, we're all partners in this thing. Now, okay, we're coming to the end, and I know people have questions, and sometimes they like it, and sometimes they don't like stuff. Um, there's a way for you to let people know where you are up there at Labor and Licensing. And if you'll just call 501 682 9201, Tony, are they really going to get to talk to somebody?
That's Michael Langley's direct line. Yes, sir. He's a one man. I mean, he's busy, but he will get back to you. If he doesn't answer the phone, you leave him a message, he'll get back to you. That is his direct line right there.
Tony, next month,
Next
second
month,
Monday of the month, that will
sediment
be
traps.
July
Everybody.
sometime. Yeah.
Yes, sir. We got a
Yeah.
good one coming. And then the month after that, we're going to build one called You Got to Know When to Say No. It is a disaster to a structure. It's going to be another good one. So I'm glad we do these. It helps get it out there.
Yeah. Well, you're really getting way ahead out there into the future, aren't you? July and August. Well,
So
you take care of yourself and tell everybody over there hello. If there's anything that the association can do for you, and our guys stand behind you. We want to be corrected before we make a mistake, and you'll give an opportunity to make it right if we do. That's partnership, and we appreciate it. So, well, until July, thank you very much. If there's anything we can do for you, call the Arkansas HVACR Association. Call the Arkansas Department of Labor and Licensing at 682-9201, and somebody will get around to helping you with whatever your problem is. Have a
yes,
great
sir.
day.
You too. Thanks, Tom.